Hey everyone, welcome back to Guitar Foundations. I'm Nate Savage, and I like to call this lesson the Strummy Open Chord song. This is your second song you can learn in this course, and it's kind of where everything comes together, everything we've been working on as far as your strumming, open chords, chord transitions come together. And I wrote a song in the style of Green Day. It's called Denial Avenue, and that's what we're going to be focusing on here. Just putting everything together for the perfect storm, and it's going to be really easy for you to tell if you've kind of worked on all the individual pieces enough to bring them together in this song, or if you need to go back and work on your chord changes and individual chord shapes and strumming on their own a little bit. If you can pull this song off and play through it, good to go. If you're having a little trouble, you need to go back and work on those individual things a little more. So just keep that in mind before we get into this. Speaking of before we get into this, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps get the word out about this course. Also share it with a friend that you know has been wanting to learn how to play the guitar. Would be a great starting point for them. And if you have any questions about anything we cover here, you can leave them in the comments or email me, nate@natesavage.com, or go book a private lesson with me on natesavage.com. And pick up the ebook too for Guitar Foundations. It'll really help you get through all of this material. Let's get right into this. First thing I want to go over with you is just the chords we're going to be using in this song. There are only 4 chords, and if you've gone up through Guitar Foundations, all the video lessons here up to this point, there should be nothing new for you here. We're going to be using a G major, a D major, an E minor, and a C major. So you should be able to go to all those chords on their own, just like it was nothing. If you can't do that, if you're having trouble with, like, say, the C, take a little bit more time and work on getting that C major chord down. That's step 1. All right, as far as the strumming goes for this song, I wanted to keep things super simple. One very basic strumming pattern for the entire song, and it's just a straight 8th note strumming pattern that uses all downstrokes. So if you're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and like this, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and all downstrokes the entire time. And there's a reason we're using this strumming pattern. We'll get to it more in the next lesson when I show you how to dress this up a little bit to fit the style of the song more. But for now, just use the straight 8th note strumming pattern. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, all downstrokes. All right, let's get into the chord progressions that you need to know for each individual section for the song. There are really only 2, but you can look at it as being 4 different parts of the song. It starts off on an E minor, and you just have that for 2 beats. So 1 and 2 and this is the intro of the song, by the way, which is the same progression as the verse. We'll get into that more later. But start off on an E minor for 2 beats, 1 and 2 and, then move to a G major for 2 beats, 3 and 4 and, then move to a D for 1 full measure. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That is the main progression for the intro and most of the verse that's coming up too. So for the intro, if you look at the repeat signs at the end of measure 2 for this song, you're going to see obviously the repeat signs there. So you're going to play this progression twice for the intro. So 1 and 2 and G and 4, and then a D, 2 and 3 and 4, and then back to E minor, second time through, G, D, 2, 3, 4. That's the entire intro for this song. So work on that progression, get it to where you know exactly what the chord progression is and what chord is coming next and exactly when to switch and all that, because it's going to be important not only for this intro, but also for the verse progression. So each verse starts out that exact same way. You play that progression, but you play it 3 times for each verse. So 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, that's 1, 3, 4, again, 2, 3, 4. That's number 2. Here comes number 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the way you can tell you're supposed to play this little progression, E minor, G, D, 3 times, is the little 3x above the repeat sign at the end of the second measure of the verse. After you play that 3 times, you move on to the next measure, which gives you this progression right here to kind of finish off what would be the verse progression. A measure of C, so a full measure, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then you move to a D for 1 measure, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And that's kind of our cue. I wanted to make the progression a little bit different here for you to make it a cue to let you know that you're about to go into the chorus. So after you have this progression down for the intro, you can apply it to the verse. practice it as the verse 3 times instead of 2 like the intro does, and then tag a measure of C and a measure of D onto the end of it. And that'll lead you into the chorus. And we're keeping the same basic all downstroke 8-note strumming pattern going here. And you're gonna notice I did this on purpose too. I gave each chord throughout the song either 2 beats or 4 beats, so it'll be easier to keep track of where you are. You're only ever on a chord for either 2 beats or 4 beats at a time before making a change. All right, onto the chorus for this song. You're gonna go straight into a C major chord for 2 beats, then a G major for 2 beats, E minor for 2 beats, and then D major for 2 beats. And that's kind of the first half of this chord progression. Take some time to get that down, and you can put the second half of the chorus progression with it. Starts off the same way. 2 beats of C, 2 beats of G, and then instead of an E minor D, you just have 1 full measure of D. So that's the full chorus chord progression. Let me just walk you through the whole thing without stopping. C for 2 beats, G for 2 beats, E minor for 2, D for 2, C for 2, G for 2, and then D for 1 full measure. And you can slow this way down, make sure you're getting the right amount of beats, make sure you're consistent, work on getting the chord changes smoothly. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So we end up with a 4 measure chord progression that you play through twice for 1 chorus. So to play the first chorus, all you have to do is play through that progression 2 times. Now I will mention here, and we'll get into this more when we get to the song layout portion of this lesson, but the second time you get to the chorus, it's a double chorus. So you not only play what you just played for the chorus, so 2 times through that progression, you do it again for a total of 4 times through the chorus progression for the second chorus. The last chorus is just like the first chorus. You just play through that progression twice. More on that later. Now, one thing that I do want to reiterate here is if you're having trouble switching through these chords and keeping the flow going, take some more time, work on the individual chord shapes on their own, separate that challenge, and then take some more time just working on your strumming, make sure you're staying in time, separating that challenge, and then bring them together again after a couple days of working on this if you're having trouble. All right, only one little part left to learn for this song. And it's not really anything new. It's the bridge or solo section, the guitar solo section of the song, but it's the exact same progression as the verse. The only difference here is the energy comes up a little bit more, so you might want to dig into your guitar a little bit more to bring that energy up. Same progression though, E minor for 2 beats, G major for 2 beats, 3 and 4, and then a measure of D, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And just like the verse, do that progression 3 times. That's number 2. Comes number 3. And when you get to the end of number 3, you go to a C for 1 measure and a D for 1 measure. Same exact thing as the verses. Those are all the individual parts for this song. And we'll get into this more in a second in the assignments, but those are the practice points that you need to really work through in your daily routine to get them down so you can put them together when you play along to the song. If you work on them individually, it's going to be much easier when you play along to the song. And another thing that I should mention here as we get into the song layout is when you're learning a new tune, it's really important to listen to it a lot. Just to sit down, do nothing except actively listen to it to where you can kind of hum along to it and so you know where it's going. That'll help you a lot when it comes to putting all the individual pieces together. Let's get into the song layout now. Okay, first off, you have that intro, which is just 2 times through the E minor, G, D progression. From there you have verse 1, just a normal verse. Then you have chorus 1, which is just a normal single chorus. Then you have a re-intro, which is just the intro stated again, so 2 times through that same progression I just played. Then you have verse 2, exact same as verse 1. And then when you get to chorus 2, don't forget this is a double chorus, so instead of going through the chorus progression only twice, you go through it 4 times. From there you have the bridge or solo of the song, which is just like playing through another verse. You know, that progression 3 times, the main progression 3 times with a tag of the C to a D. And the energy comes up there, so really dig into your guitar, and that will lead you into the final chorus, which is just a normal single chorus. At the end of that chorus, the third and final chorus, you end on an E minor after you play through the chorus progression twice. All right, here are your assignments for this lesson. These are the things you're going to need to do to be able to play through this song. Number 1, make sure you know all the individual chord shapes and you can go right to them on their own. Number 2, memorize the simple 8th note strumming pattern and work on it on its own. Number 3, memorize and work on the intro chord progression. Number 4, memorize and work on the verse chord progression. Number 5, memorize and work on the chorus chord progression. Number 6, memorize and work on the bridge chord progression, which is the same as the verse progression, right? Number 7, listen to the jam track and memorize the song layout. Really go through it in your head as you're listening actively. Number 8, play through the song with no metronome so you can work on just getting all the parts, in order and getting your chord transitions really smooth. And number 9, play through the song with the jam track. You can use the one at 70 beats per minute starting out, and I think there's another version at 84 beats per minute that's a more fits the style of the song, and that's going to be your main goal for this lesson. I want to play through this entire song for you so you can get a good feel for it and maybe get an idea of what you should be shooting for as far as the sounds and the transitions between parts. Here you go. I know that there is a lot to think about to play through a song like this. You have to think about your strumming, you have to think about playing chords, smooth chord transitions, what's coming next in the song, staying on top of your timing. But if you've been working on everything individually, it should be challenging at this point, but it should be doable for you. If you're really having trouble with something, you probably need to go back at this point and work on some more individual areas, like either your strumming, changing chord smoother, or maybe even the individual chord shapes. Now, if you're having really serious trouble with any of these individual areas, you can always go to natesavage.com and schedule a private lesson with me. The first one is complimentary, so there's no risk. Also, don't forget to leave any questions or comments you may have in the comments down below. You can also email me, nate@natesavage.com. I'll see you in the next lesson. Keep in touch and let me know how it's going for you. See ya.